Hi everybody. Today is part 2 of our Developing Learner Agency PowerPoint. We're going to focus today on the last 4 facets of Developing Learner Agency, which include motivation, ownership, purpose, and self-efficacy. We will begin with motivation, and I want you to think about what you are motivated to do, because motivation drives everything in our lives. It drives our behavior. If you stayed up late to study for a test, you did so because you wanted to get a good grade or pass the class. Or you did it because you love the topic and you want to learn more about that topic. So you've got extrinsic versus intrinsic behavior there. If you decided to go to Taco Bell or to the cafeteria last night, you did so because you were hungry. Hunger was driving your behavior. So motivation impacts every part of our life. Of course, today we're going to be talking about motivation as it relates to learning. Here we've got a continuum of motivation. You know, I love these images. I think it helps to tie in some pictures here. You've got extrinsic motivation here in the bottom corner, all the way up to intrinsic learner-driven motivation with self-actualization. We'll start down here at the bottom with instrumental. This is very similar to the factory model of motivation. There are rewards, there are consequences. You'll hear kids in this stage asking questions like, is this going to be on the test? What is my grade in here? What color pen should I write in? Social motivations, as we move up the mountain here, is what our learners experience when they want to be accepted as part of the group. They want to please. This is still extrinsic. Achievement is our next step here, and it's when the learners demonstrate that they want to learn. They have a desire to be successful in school. This is the stage where your students are beginning to develop a growth mindset, so they're starting to tie effort and strategies into what ends up happening, results. Self-actualization up here at the top of the mountain is about learners being invested in the learning process. They love the learning. They're learning because they want to. And this doesn't necessarily have to be learning within a school, right? This is when you Google a YouTube video to figure out how to change the oil in your car, or you teach yourself to crochet by following step-by-step instructions on Google Slides or again in a YouTube video. You're learning something because you want to. That's self-actualization. Neat, huh? The next thing we're going to talk about is ownership. In my field, we talk a lot about leveraging technology to develop student ownership. We want them to own the learning. If you are in charge of your learning, if you own it, you need to know how that's going. Where are you? Where do you need to go? There's a lot of goal setting when students own the learning. Makes me think very much of our multiple means of engagement column and the Universal Design for Learning framework. So go through and look at that real quick, even if you have to pause the video. Those all relate to building ownership of student learning. Excuse me. Here's our continuum for ownership. We need to ask ourselves here, do learners in my class have opportunities to be autonomous? Do they get to make decisions here? With compliance, over here in this corner, this is where our learners do not own the learning. They're working on getting a grade. This is where teacher does all of the talking. Students are doing what they are asked. So I want you to picture in your mind a class that you had in high school that was like that, where students, even yourself, were probably in that compliance stage. Understanding. This is where learners share how they learn best with the teacher. Learners are given a voice by sharing their interests and talents, and they come up with learning goals and their own personalized learning plans, so they have an idea of what they want to get out of the class. Investment is when Your learners start to build confidence in developing the skills they'll need to work independently and in groups, so they're kind of in the beginning stage here. They work toward their personal goals by developing action steps with the teacher. And then once they get to autonomy, and my video is kind of blocking that, I'll just tell you about it. This is now where your students have the confidence and skills to work by themselves or to work with others as the situation dictates. They will self-monitor. They're usually presenting what they learn to authentic audiences as well, so that's an important facet. They're not just creating something for you to grade. Purpose. With purpose, I do want you to take 30 seconds, and I want you to pause the video to answer this question. What is the purpose of learning? Pause. I'll be here when you get back. All right, the purpose of learning. What is the purpose of learning? If you asked me, I would respond that I think the purpose of learning is, why do we learn? Because we want our students to be prepared for any future, no matter what comes their way. That's the puppy. Paisley wants to say hi. Hi, everybody. We want our students to be prepared for any future, to develop a mindset that's going to help them persevere through any challenge. And I don't care if my learners are 5 or my oldest learner I've ever had was 82. I want them to develop that growth mindset, to come away from my class knowing I can do it. I can figure this out. I can go persevere through any challenge. I'm going to make a difference within and beyond my community. That's what I want my learners to get. That's the purpose of learning in my mind. When we look at the continuum of purpose here for, in relation to what we're talking about with developing learner agency, you've got conformity. It relates to the first stage in pretty much every facet we've talked about. Self-awareness is where your students are going to be starting to investigate things that are interesting to them. Discovery is pretty neat. This is when your students are excited to try new things. They're starting to figure out what their personal passions are. And then the last piece is making a difference. And this is where your students are seeking problems. They're figuring out how to improve their community. They're making a big difference. They're fostering a meaningful existence, right? So those are ways in which you can really begin to develop learner agency, which all lead to this last piece of self-efficacy. We want our students to build confidence as they move from being overly cautious to, let's see if we can slide this down, overly cautious to having self-esteem, self-confidence, and finally that perseverance piece where they are embracing challenges, where they think about failures as a learning opportunity, because we all fail daily, if you're me, and you learn from it and it informs what you do moving forward. That's how you keep learning. Your children, your learners who are in this stage, they're willing to take risks and they go that extra mile. If something gets thrown in their way, if they encounter a challenge, they persevere through. I'm saying that word a lot, persevere. But they're not hindered by anything that comes their way. It may take them a minute to kind of reevaluate and come up with a different path, but they'll do so. Let's see if we can put this guy back. All right, before I say goodbye for the day, I want to show you just really quickly the books that I used, the research that I put together to inform this PowerPoint. We've got How to Personalize Learning, which was actually based on the book Make Learning Personal, and these are both written by Barbara Bray and Kathleen McClaskey. You may remember their names from the Continuum picture. Sylvia Duckworth drew them, but it was based on the work of these people. And then I really thought this was an interesting, quick read. I mean, you can probably get this one read in a couple hours. But this one's called Empower, What Happens When Students Own Their Learning. And this is John Spencer and A.J. Giuliani. So if you ever want to borrow these books from me or put them on your list of must-buys for the future, please do so. Thank you for your attention. I appreciate it. We'll get to the hands-on part of class on Wednesday, and I'm looking forward to that. I will see you soon. Have a great day. Bye.